Hello, my crafty friends. Thanks so much for joining me today. I'm so glad you're here. This week on the blog, we're going to take an ordinary store-bought pumpkin like this that I bought at Michael's and turn it into a pumpkin Cinderella would love. And it's easy, and we're going to do it together. And before I get started, I'd like to give a shout out to Allison over at the blog Dream a Little Bigger. She's the one that gave me the idea for doing these pumpkins. She painted hers with some flat paint, which I'm going to show you how she did that. But you know me, I don't know when to stop, so I went further and added metallic to mine, and I did it to all of them. And I did them in a myriad of colors. So I think my favorite one is this one. Looks like a big oversized heirloom tomato, doesn't it? So if you were going to go buy a pumpkin like this at some high-end specialty design store, you'd probably pay anywhere from $35 to $50, maybe even more in San Francisco for it. And for less than 10 bucks, you can do this yourself. That's why DIY is so great. So I bought this pumpkin at Michael's. It was $9.99. I had a 40% off coupon, so I'm $6 into it. A little bit of Martha Stewart craft paint, and for less than $10, I've created a masterpiece that's going to look really great at my front door for the fall holidays. So let's dive right in. We're going to do this. This is an easy one. Bring on the kids. Put newspaper down on your table. Bring out the craft paint. Go to Michael's, pick up some pumpkins, and do it with the kids. They're going to have a lot of fun. So let's get started. We're going to decorate some pumpkins that even Cinderella would love.
Hi there. It's Halloween. At least it's getting close to Halloween. So the first thing I want to do is I want to thank Allison over at Dream a Little Bigger blog. She's on Blog Lovin'. If you don't follow her, you should. She was the one that gave me this idea. I'm going to take her idea and expand on it a little bit. She took these pretty ghastly store-bought pumpkins and turned them into something pretty darn special. So I'm going to take, I have a little bit of just craft paint. This is burnt umber. And I'm going to grab a paintbrush, and I'm going to put a little burnt umber into all of these little spaces. And I haven't done this before. We're experimenting on this together. And I don't think this has to be too exacting. So I think this is going to be pretty cool. So I'm just kind of going around, adding a little bit of burnt umber into each one of these little crevices. And because they're indented this way, I don't have to worry about what happens when I'm going around the pumpkin. Oops. And you know, these store-bought pumpkins, they're pretty pathetic. I put them on my front porch. And I've actually, and I'll show you some, I've actually painted some when they get kind of yucky looking. I'll get some Krylon paint and I'll paint them. So up here, I'm going to just add in a little right around the top, bring these up, make this a little neater. You see that? So thank you again, Allison. I really enjoy your blog. I've gotten some great ideas. And we bloggers and DIYers, we need to stick together. So I'm going to let this dry for a few minutes, clean up my brush, and when I come back, we're going to continue. Okay, so we are back, and it's dried a little bit. I'm going to start on the areas that are a little drier. And I have this Martha Stewart. This is satin, and it's called Pumpkin, so I figured it's a perfect color. So I'm going to use it. Add just a little bit of water on my brush. Bring my palette over a little bit here. And I'm going to start painting right over now. When Allison did it, hers, ooh, I should have let that dry a little bit. Hers, seemed to bead up a little bit. On the pumpkin, but mine's going on really smooth. So you can see that color underneath it. Adds a little dimension. It's already looking better than it did when I brought it home from the store. I'm just going to go down section by section. Go all the way down to the bottom. This might take a couple of coats. Well, this one's a little wet on the top, so I'm going to kind of switch over and go over here to the other side. Jump in here. Heaven forbid we buy something from the store and it's exactly the way we want it. Nope, as DIYers, us crafters, we got to change it up. It's never good enough the way it comes out of the Chinese factory. What do they know about Halloween? It's already looking pretty darn cool, I think. Go all the way down. Hope you're seeing this okay. Up here, we're going to come back in, we're going to paint the stem, so not to worry about that. How's that? Oh my gosh. Look at that. Doesn't that looks so much better. I hope it shows up on camera. Of course, when it's all done, we'll go outside and I'll show you how it looks along with the other pumpkins that I've done. Because, again, nothing's ever good enough the way it comes from the store. We got to mess with it. Change it up. Make it better. We make everything better, don't we? touch of water on there. And just work the paint in and down to the bottom of the pumpkin. If you feel that your burnt umber part shows through too much, let the paint dry a little, and you can come back in and touch that up if you think it's a little too much, if you're not getting enough coverage. So I looked at Allison's blog today, and one of the things that she's done is she did some embroidery spider webs. I think they were embroidery. They look like crochet when I first took a picture of it, so I'll have to go back and look again. They looked really cool. But my craft is mostly paper. This is a deviation from paper, but it's part of the decorating thing. I don't embroider. I did when I was younger. You know, there are just too many great crafts out there. And you just kind of have to decide which ones are for you. So my husband is away this weekend. He is a softball player. He's on an over 65 now, traveling softball team. They're in Vegas this weekend. And while I love having him here, I enjoy my time when he's away. It's my time to be able to do things like this without taking time away from our time together. And since we're both retired now, we both have, quite frankly, I'm busier now than I was when I worked. It's bizarre. But I so enjoy making paper flowers. As you know, I've done some tutorials on paper flowers. I can put a little more right in here. Give me a little more moisture on that. So the one thing that I'm going to do different from what Allison did is I'm going to add some gold to mine because, yeah, I'm a former figure skater. For us, it's all about the sparkle. So just card it, take it down all the way. I have to tell you, I am shocked at how great this is. I will never look at a store-bought pumpkin the same again. I have to find out where Allison lives, and we're going to definitely have to meet up. She's my hero today. I kind of wasn't sure about this. I knew I wanted to paint them, and I have painted before, but I've used spray. I've spray painted them before. I don't know why I never thought of this. Just takes a clever crafter to come up with a better idea. So I'm going to come back in here because I have a little mark there where the burnt umber, wasn't smooth-handed there, so I'll just come in with a little more paint. And I'll come back over that. Just do it. Oh, missed a spot here. So Allison did a tutorial on her blog that was photographed, so I thought it would be fun to actually do a video on it. I need a touch more paint. I'm going to go around one more time. Especially here where I was a little heavy-handed with the umber. It's just, I tell you, I'm blown away. Totally blown away. And you know, my husband and I, we go up to a place north of, well, just east of Sacramento called Placerville. There's a bunch of apple orchards up there called Apple Hill. They're all together, Apple Hill. This is apple season, so we'll be going up there soon. A bunch of wineries up there that we visit frequently as well. But I go up there, and in the past, I bought pumpkins up there. Gosh, you know, I have to tell you, if you're on a budget, and, you know, aren't we all? Pumpkins are expensive. I mean, geez, seriously? 20 bucks for a pumpkin? You gotta be kidding me. I guess people just have way too much time and money on their hands. Of course, they say the same about me with my time, but that's a whole other story. Okay, so I think we're going to pause here. I'm going to clean up my brush, and then we're going to come back with my variation on that's different than what Alice did. So we're just going to let that dry. I know it looks kind of messy now, but it won't when we're all done. Of course, are you like me? You just don't know when to stop, right? This section right here is bothering me, but I think we're going to be able to cover that up with our next coat of paint. It's going to be a totally different color. So just carry it down. Missed a couple spots here on the bottom. I think that's good. Okay, so we're gonna pause here. I'm going to, actually, before we do, I'm going to go ahead and paint that stem. Since I still have some burnt umber in here, I'm gonna paint this stem. Since I'm gonna let this all dry. And I can let it all dry together. So it was black on here, and I don't know, black doesn't really exist in nature. So I'm repainting it dark brown. Burnt umber. Is my head in the way? I apologize if my head gets in the way. I just don't want to touch this. I'm just going to like star that out like that. Paint the top. So, okay, so now we are going to take a break. We're going to let this dry for about 20 minutes and I will come back and I'll show you what I'm going to do that's different than what Allison did. Okay, so welcome back. So this is where what I'm going to do is going to be different than what Allison did. So I'm going to stick with this orange paint. And I have some, this is just craft paint from Michael's, and this is classic gold. Gosh, copper would be even prettier, but I'll save that for another one. So I'm just going to, ooh, uh-oh. That's not good. Put that back in there. Learn from my mistakes. Shake this paint up. This is metallic paint, so it probably does need a good shake. Let's try again. There we go. Well, it's better, but not great. Okay, so I'm going to do like the top here with gold, with a light wash of gold. And just, you can take this down as far as you want. Add a little touch of water there. Yeah, there we go. See, we're just smoothing it on. You could do a wash of gold on the whole thing if you wanted to. See if I can get that to mix a little bit better. There we go. I'll just feather it down. Like I said earlier, we crafters, we are never content with the way things are. We constantly want to mix it up. And heck, isn't that half the fun? Seriously? I mean, wouldn't you really be bored if your Christmas tree, you know, if somebody else came in and decorated your tree? I mean, I know there's people out there that do, and I've been asked to decorate people's trees for them, and I love doing it, but I sure wouldn't want anybody decorating my tree. But some people can do that, and some people don't. And we, as crafters, we are such a sharing community. While it always comes as a shock to me that somebody doesn't know how to set a table, I understand that they never learned that. So if I can help them have as much fun as I do, then, you know, it's our responsibility to share the love, right? Got a little heavy-handed there, a little water on it. And I'm going to come back in and do more on this stem, so I'm not worried about the fact that I got gold paint on it. So it looks like I missed spots up here. So I'm going to come in around, just around the top. And add just a little more right along the top there. I hope you're following along on my 2019 blog, Handcrafted Holiday. This is part of that series. Okay, now when you're done and you go back over it, if the paint underneath it is tacky, it's going to start to lift that paint off. So if you want to come in and add some more later, I would say wait, but my brush is almost dry, so I'm just spreading it down the pumpkin a little bit. And I could see where it was tacky. There we go. And it kind of glopped up a little there. So there we go. So from here, I'm going to let this dry, and then I'm going to take it outside and I'm going to spray it with some Krylon. In the meantime, but before we do, I'm going to go ahead and put another coat of paint here along the top, because I don't want to touch the pumpkin. I'm going to turn my mat. And make it look nice and neat along there. And of course, like I said, I'm a former figure skater. Whoops. Let's see, by the way, I'm going to add some little, I think I might have to come in and do this later. But I'm just going to add a little gold in there just to, because I can. There. Okay, so there we go. I will come back and show it to you when it's all dry. And after it's dry, I'm going to take it outside and I'm going to spray it with a glossy coat of Krylon clear coat. And I'll do a couple of light coats, and I'll bring it back in and show it to you when it's all done. So I've speeded up this portion of the video here, and this is another pumpkin. I just wanted to show you another option. This is a white pumpkin, a little small pumpkin that I also bought. And you can buy these just about any craft store. I will see if I can put a link on my Amazon storefront for you so that you could order them from there. But this is a little small one. And I wanted to do something a little different here. So I'm using the same technique. I came in with the burnt umber, and I'm painting in the ridges with the burnt umber. And you can see, you don't have to be exact with this. Just get the little color on there. Because once we start coloring it over, the paint is going to
all kind of come together. So there's the segment with the ridges being painted on it. Okay, well, we're back. So I let that burnt umber dry just for a few minutes. It doesn't take very long, really. And I'm adding in my base coat of color. This particular paint is a Martha Stewart craft paint called Blood Orange. And I have to tell you, I think this is just a spectacular color for pumpkins. I will definitely do this one again. I did my pumpkins in a lot of different colors, and I only did one of this exact blood orange, but it's a very pumpkin-y kind of color, but has a little more oomph to it. So I really enjoy it. I think it's really, really pretty. And I'm going to come in later and add copper highlights to this one, whereas we did gold with the big orange pumpkin. But this one we're adding copper highlights to it, and it's just spectacular. So the whole idea of this first coat is really just get some paint down. And you'll find that in painting and art, in most art projects, just getting some color down is kind of your first step in a project. And so I've not been very exact about this at all, just getting the color onto the pumpkin. And you can see even with this first coat, that burnt umber underneath is starting to blend in quite a bit. And you'll see when we get to the second coat that it really does blend in quite well. So once I finish this coat of paint, I'm going to let this dry a little bit. I did hit it with my heat gun a little bit. You have to be careful about the heat gun because it's hot and these pumpkins are foam or plastic, some kind of plastic, and they will melt. So just be careful if you're going to use a heat gun on it. A hairdryer on cool would probably be better, or just put it near a window. I ended up opening up a window in my craft room and just setting my pumpkins there to let them dry. And you can see I wasn't very good about how much paint I was going to need, and I kept having to refill my well a little bit. And I added a little bit of water as I went along as well. So I'm going to go ahead and let this dry. Got to get the underside first, of course. Because I'm putting just a light coat of paint on there, adding that in now really didn't matter. And like I said, I'm going to hit it with my heat gun and help it dry a little bit. So we're going to finish up this bottom. So we have our base coat on. And when we come back, we're going to add our second coat of paint. Okay, so I've come back in here and I'm adding in the second coat of that blood orange paint. And you gotta admit, that's just a beautiful color on that little pumpkin. And of course, I still didn't plan very well on how much paint. I finally filled the well up a little bit more to cover that pumpkin, but it just seemed to soak up a little more paint than I anticipated. So I didn't plan that very well. And like I said, add just a touch of sorry about my hair getting in the way, by the way. Add just a little touch of water to your brush from time to time, and that really helps your paint to smooth out. And in the palette where you see I dip into the well where the paint is, and then I dip into that flat palette, there's a little bit of water in there with that paint. So I am picking up a little moisture there with it. And this second coat is going on a lot smoother than the first and really covering up that first coat. So after we finish this coat, I'm going to also let this dry, and then I'm going to come back in and I'm going to apply the copper that I'm going to add to this, and it's going to totally change the look of the pumpkin. Just wait till you see how cool it is. So I'm pretty excited about how all of these came out, and this one in particular because I thought it was really pretty. It was kind of a leap faith of trying something totally different on a white pumpkin. So I'm going to come back in, dry this off, come back in, and we'll finish up. Hi, so after the paint dried on this pumpkin, I realized I really needed to put another coat of paint on it. So I came back in and I put in that second coat of paint. And you'll see I add a little more water to it than I did on the other coats, simply because it really helped to smooth it out. So this last coat of paint is really thin with a little more moisture, and you're going to have to play it by ear to see whether you need to put that third coat of paint on. I actually did one where I ended up putting 4 coats of paint on it because I just felt that it wasn't what I wanted. In fact, the first coat that I put on that pumpkin was not the right color. I hated the color when I put it on, which, that's the best part about crafting is, right? If you don't like it, change it. So I changed up the color and put a nice redder coat on it. I wanted to make a red pumpkin, and I ended up with it being kind of pink, and I wasn't happy with it at all. So I started all over and just put 3 coats of paint on it, and it came out just great. I'm super happy with the way that it came out. So like I said, you're going to have to just play it by ear to see whether you're going to need that third coat of paint. So after this coat of paint is on, I'm going to let everything dry really well, and then we're going to come in and we're going to add in our top coat, which is our metal color. In this one, we're going to do copper. So I think it's going to be really cool. So I'm just going to set this aside, and I'm going to let it dry, and when we come back, we'll add in our copper coating. Okay, so we're back, and I let this dry thoroughly, and I'm using a metallic copper paint to add to this. Totally changes the look of the pumpkin, makes it really warm. And on the other ones I used a lot of gold. I think this is the only one that I did copper with, and I think it came out really neat. The thing about adding the metallics to it is make sure you smooth it out really well. And even so, you're still going to have, because it's a metallic color, you're still going to have it be heavy in some spots and thinner in other spots. And you can see I'm using quite a bit of water here because I want to smooth it down the entire pumpkin. If I were going to do this again, I would probably not carry the color down as far on the pumpkin. I would do it more just on the shoulders. But I think it came out really pretty. And again, I apologize for my head getting in the way, but it's hard to see. So I'm just going to go ahead and finish this up. And I'm going to come back in around again and just kind of hit it a little more. And you'll see, unfortunately, you can't see it because of my head. So you can see I just kind of go around and add a little more on the shoulders of this pumpkin. So experiment with your pumpkins. Have fun with it. And I'd love to see your work. As I mentioned before, please share on social media, and don't forget to tag me at Susan Vaughn and use the hashtag craftingwithsusanb. So I hope you enjoyed this particular video, and I'm going to come back in with a wrap up, and can't wait to see your work. So thanks so much for joining me. Okay, so there we have it, and look at all the pumpkins I made. And I just wanted to show you a couple of really kind of cool techniques. So this looks like metallic copper that's been patinaed, and what I did was, it was an orange pumpkin, and I used like a turquoise metallic. It's called aquamarine metallic, and then I painted the stem copper so it has a metallic look to it. And I kind of did the same thing here. This one, I showed you this one earlier, and it's just a blue paint on my hands. So I can't wait to see what you make. I hope you have as much fun playing with your paints and your pumpkins as much fun as I had making this video for you. And as always, if you like my videos, please don't forget to like on YouTube, subscribe to my channel, and hit that little bell so that you'll be notified every time that I upload a video. And as always, from my home to yours, happy holidays.